News Alert. A New York appeals court just this morning has thrown out President Donald Trump's massive civil fraud penalty. The decision from a five-panel group in New York's appellate division changed the original decision that stood to cost Trump over $500 million. One appeals judge calling the lower court's penalty an excessive fine that violates the Eighth Amendment of the United States Constitution. You might remember that New York Attorney General Letitia James' office says despite this decision, they will not be dropping the case. Let's get some thoughts from Andy McCarthy. He's a former U.S. attorney. He is a Fox News contributor. He is on the phone with us. And last summer, you were helping us every single day as President Trump sat in that courtroom. Letitia James, the AG, she happened to be there as well. And at the time, I remember, Andy, you said that you thought this could be the outcome once the appellate court got a hold of it. What are your thoughts this morning?
Well, I think, Dana, that Trump may be ultimately completely exonerated on this. For now, the penalty goes. There was division in the appeals court about the merits of the underlying suit. But as you point out, what they found basically under an Eighth Amendment theory, that's the amendment that prohibits cruel and unusual punishments, there was such a mismatch between whatever wrong was actually established in the trial and the outrageous penalty that was imposed for it, which was, I think, $355 million, which with interest and other costs is already up to about $530 million now because it continued to accrue for a while. That was such a ridiculous mismatch between what the penalty was and whatever the wrong was that was established, that had to go. The court is leaving in place some other what they call injunctive rulings that were made by the court. So some things have to be sorted out, like how much monitoring Trump's organization is going to be under. But he's out from under the most important part of the case, obviously. And I think there could still be an appeal to the highest appeals court in New York, the Court of Appeals, where they will deal with the question that seems to have vexed the appellate division, which is the whole merits of the case and whether Letitia James, the Attorney General in New York State, should have been able to use a consumer protection statute that had never been used in this way.
So essentially, Letitia James, who in my opinion is one of the biggest criminals ever, tried to leverage this in order to cripple the Trump administration and Trump himself so that they can have some sway and influence over the election that ultimately he won in 2024 and now is president of the United States of America. But more importantly, they really did a number and embarrassed themselves, both New York and Fani Willis. Basically, what they tried to do was say that the Trump administration had overinflated the value of his companies and his assets, which would then yield to the amount of leverage he was able to use to get a wider span of credit or to leverage and do business with banks. And so what they basically did was pull out some obscure bullshit out of their ass, in which the banks even said that, no, we did great business with Trump and they paid everything that they were supposed to pay and everybody would benefited from it and everybody did well. And so what the hell are you doing? How can you sit there and say that, the valuation of that company was overinflated to where they wasn't able to pull that type of money from us and do business with us? And then ultimately, we all benefited and we all did really well and nobody was hurt as a result of it. And so basically, they pulled everything that they can out of their ass to try to come after the Trump administration and try to come after Trump himself. Of course, we know that New York, in my opinion, is corrupt. I believe that Letitia James is probably one of the most corrupt people. Her entire platform and everything that she did, she ran off of the idea that the Trump administration would go down because she would be one of the people that took him down, along with, obviously, we know about Fani Willis, in which that whole thing fell apart, in which Fani Willis practically fell apart. And the only reason that she has a position today is because the black community decided that they wanted to keep her employed despite the fact that she had an affair with a married man, right? And so we know about that. We know about everything that was thrown out in Florida also, in which they was trying to accuse him of taking documents out of the White House and throwing them under the bus then. But all of this was basically, in my opinion, a conspiracy to try to prevent him from running for president and to try to cripple him financially in the companies that he established. And so what the appeals court basically did was they said, listen, this is wrong. This is cruel and unusual punishment. First of all, whatever it is that you think that you proved in court never warranted this type of penalty. We're going to completely throw this out, and we have the ability to continue to throw out the rest of the case once it goes up to the higher court. So Trump, as usual, continues to be the Teflon Don. We know that Letitia James, obviously, we know what she stands for. And we're going to also get this from MSNBC because we want to look at it from both sides. Crazy.
We're starting with the breaking news we ended last hour with. A New York appeals court has thrown out a massive civil fraud penalty against President Trump, a total that exceeded $500 million. They're calling that penalty excessive. Joining us now, NBC News legal analyst and NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach. Danny, break down this ruling for us.
Well, it's a lengthy ruling, and all the judges disagreed on their analysis, but they agreed on one final decision, which was that this judgment against Trump was a fine within the Eighth Amendment prohibition on cruel and unusual punishment and excessive fines. And in addition, it was punitive and it was excessive. That's really the conclusion. They concluded that because this was a punitive measure because there weren't any victims who were compensated. It was just a judgment against the company and against Trump. So the court here concluded with a lot of disagreement among them, but did conclude that this was an excessive fine within the meaning of the Constitution's Eighth Amendment.
Danny, when you say that this was a lengthy ruling, we're talking to the tune of more than 300 pages. So we know that folks are going through it still. But Gary, give us a refresher of this case. Viewers are seeing on the screen from the time of the trial. How did we get here?
So you'll remember that Donald Trump was accused of kind of plussing up how much money he actually was worth and how much money the things he owned were actually worth. He tripled the size of his penthouse in documents to some of these financial lenders and brokers. You just can't do that. Yeah. And he was given a $300 million fine that has been plussed to $500 million because of interest. And that was 11 months ago now. And so this is a very significant win for Donald Trump. And it's also for his sons, because it was paused for his sons as well. So the entire Trump family is impacted by this. But I do want to get to a point that Danny was talking about, how everyone sort of had different opinions when they released this opinion. The appeals court said, one of them said, penalties are supposed to stop people from doing things. They're concerned these individuals will reoffend, and it's getting rid of the penalty. Perhaps not the best idea here.
And for viewers.
So what y'all really also need to understand is that Letitia James has also said that she will not stop pursuing this. It has cost New York taxpayers and taxpayers at large tons of millions of dollars in order to continue to try to prosecute this, in which obviously we all know that it's not going to go anywhere. Trump himself is truly the Teflon Don because nothing is coming at him. Nothing can stick. And I don't expect for Letitia James to be successful. As a matter of fact, I expect that she continues to pursue this because she herself, according to people that were reporting on Fox News and several different outlets from the Trump administration, is being investigated for inflating the value of her own things and also supposedly, allegedly, listing her father as her husband in order to qualify for loans in a penthouse, not a penthouse, a specific residence that she then was able to obtain a loan for that she probably shouldn't even have been able to get in the first place. But as usual, I will keep you guys up to date on what's going on out in these streets. I love you. I appreciate you. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. T. Hanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.